Hello friends, my name is David Clay and I want to welcome you to another video on the Gospel of Thomas. In this video we'll be exploring and I'll be interpreting for you saying number 75 from the Gospel of Thomas. So with that being said, let's get on with it. Okay, I'd like to mention a few important points about the Gospel of Thomas before I interpret saying 75. It's important for you to keep in mind exactly what the purpose was behind the compilation of the 114 sayings and the order in which they were found in the text. This is a designed text, believe it or not. The foremost intent and purpose of the 114 sayings is to, of course, this is through repeated exposure and understanding of the mystical meaning of each saying, to gradually increase an individual's overall spiritual awareness, and thus resulting in a higher state of spiritual consciousness. You see, spiritual powers and gifts of the Spirit that St. Paul refers to in Corinthians can only develop as one develops a higher and higher state of consciousness. This is an important point to remember when you're reading and studying the Gospel of Thomas. Okay, many people wonder about why so many of the sayings in the Gospel of Thomas are presented in an almost riddle-like fashion. This is primarily an ancient and I might add a very brilliant way of both intriguing and captivating the mind of an individual, which leads to a deep retention of the mystical wisdom which is contained in the saying. If you've ever taken a memory course to increase your powers of memory, then you will remember that anything presented to the mind in an exaggerated or bizarre form is far more likely to be retained in the mind's memory than something, say, that's unremarkable or ordinary. This is much the same concept. Also, it's important to keep in mind, as you will see in a second when we interpret and look closely at saying 75 and the spiritual revelations that it contains, that the creation and the foundation and the total background makeup and construction of the physical world, that is, our present reality of space and time, the reality we live in, can be stated and summarized with one word, and that one word is polarity. Everything in physical creation exists in a dual state of polarity. In other words, everything that manifests in what we call a positive state and also in a negative state, with varying incremental states in between the two polarized extremes. I repeat this often in different videos because this is a basic theme of the Gospel of Thomas, as you will see when we get to saying 75. This is the most fundamental part of the physical universe. In fact, and as I've said before, the primary difference between the spiritual world and the physical reality that we live in is that in the spiritual world, polarity does not exist. The only state that manifests in the spiritual world is the state of complete and absolute perfection. This is a concept that's so foreign to the human mind and human experience that it's an almost incomprehensible concept for the human mind to conceive. But it's a very important concept to remember. Polarity is the reason for all of the suffering in the physical world. Polarity is the basic background of the physical world, the most basic of all of the backgrounds. Okay, mankind entered the physical world and its ever-present background existence of polarity when, as the allegory with the story of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden attempts to explain in terms and imagery and concepts that the human mind can make sense of, as the allegory recounts, humanity became physical and entered into the prison of physical reality, the prison that we all find ourselves in today. That happened when Eve and then Adam ate of the forbidden fruit. Of course, the forbidden fruit was the knowledge of good and evil, or more specifically, polarity, or as some prefer to call it, duality. Okay, the first key to once again gaining that state of power and paradise that we humans once possessed is in learning to overcome reality by seeing above and beyond the physical world of polarity. We can only achieve this, that is while we're still in the flesh, by learning to become non-judgmental. In other words, by not using the yardstick of polarity to view and evaluate the things and conditions that we encounter in our reality and in our everyday lives. This is the real and the higher meaning behind the quote there from Matthew chapter 7, in the first verse. Judge not that ye be not judged. Most people and most Christians think that means just to not judge people. Yes, it means that too. But it also, in its higher mystical meaning, means do not judge reality. Do not assess reality based on the law of polarity. You have to learn to be non-judgmental. As the poem by Rudyard Kipling says, meet triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same. That's what the poem is about overcoming polarity. In order to become non-judgmental, you've got to learn to gradually develop a solitary mind. That is a single mind, which views your world and its events and circumstances from the higher position of non-judgment, non-polarity, non-duality. All of which naturally brings us to saying number 75. Saying 75 from the Gospel of Thomas. Jesus said, many are standing at the door, but it is the solitary who will enter the bridal chamber. Let me read that again. Jesus said, many are standing at the door, but it is the solitary who will enter the bridal chamber. Okay, I guess, and I'm sure that you noticed our two key words there in saying 75 was the word solitary and the two words bridal chamber. And what they mean is the key to interpreting and explaining the whole mystical meaning behind saying 75. You'll always find the meaning or some clue to the meaning of each of these different sayings, of the 114 sayings, within the saying itself. There's always a key within the saying itself. Usually it's a verbal key like this, always, because naturally it's written in words, so it would be a verbal key. The word solitary in that particular saying means those who are solitary are whether of one mind, a non-judgmental mind, which we've already been discussing. I think you can see that now. The bridal chamber, of course, is the spiritual union of the human mind, the spiritual marriage of the human mind with the divine consciousness. And there you have the interpretation and the meaning of saying 75 from the Gospel of Thomas. Also, I think if you'll go back and review this video, you'll learn the importance of being able to apply this information that you're learning from these various sayings to your own life and to the circumstances of your life. It's not just meant to be read. The Gospel of Thomas and the sayings are not just meant to be read for intellectual stimulation, nor even just for spiritual stimulation. They're meant to be interpreted and translated into something that can be applied in the here and now to your daily life and your daily circumstances. That makes them very, very worthwhile. Okay, friends, I hope this video helps you. And I look forward to talking to you and seeing you in the next video, which we have a really good one coming up. A plan called the Spiritual Toolbox. Of course, I'm going to plead for your money now. We need your help in order to grow and expand and produce many more videos. Of course, the videos all explain and interpret the Gospel of Thomas. Of course, we're in a desperate need of more and newer equipment always. That's the battle we're always fighting. And your donation can make all the difference in the world. So we want to thank you and God bless. You can help out by sending your donations to patreon.com/Secrets of Thomas. Again, thank you, and I'll see you in the next video. Therefore, it could be said, and rightly so, that what the Gospel of Thomas was, is, and was intended to be, was and is for all practical purposes, a training manual for developing higher states of spiritual awareness and spiritual consciousness in an individual's mind. This is the primary purpose behind the Gospel of Thomas. It serves as a master manual for the expansion of the individual's spiritual consciousness. If you keep that in mind, you will realize the progress that you're making as you continue in this study.